All right, welcome back. It's still the verdict and special coverage of the 2019 general elections. Right about now, we'll be talking about election and security. And we have two other guests who've just joined us to take a look at this interesting topic. Mr. Dixon Osage, who's a security consultant, joins us here in our studios here in Lagos. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you. Nice being here.
And also from Abuja, we'll be talking to Cecil Esehagbe, who is a retired army officer from our Abuja studios, also to tell us what he knows about security as far as the 2019 general elections are concerned. Great to have you from our studios in Abuja.
All right, Mr. Cecil Esehagbe, a retired army officer, that we heard robust explanations from the PRO of the Nigeria Police earlier today. He talked about the preparation of the police and how they're working together with other security agencies across the country. He talked about the number of deployments across the country. But we always know that these kind of rhetorics precede elections. And we know how our elections have gone over the years. How would you judge our preparation in terms of security for this election?
Well, thank you. The good thing from the police spokesman is that he's a professional. So when he talks about security issues that are driven by intelligence, that means he actually knows what he's talking about. But you see, pre-election, you cannot, run away from, a tension that are coming from, mutual suspicion of the stakeholders and, the ability or the effort for one to overdo the other. So these tensions, when well managed, will not lead to crisis. But again, I want us to move away from that mentality of, militarization or putting security agency at the front burner of any election. So what matters is the confidence that is created by the election management bodies and the security agencies that are actually deployed. And the mandate of the security agencies must be well defined. So they are not to intimidate. I mean, they are just to create, the semblance of a peaceful environment for people to be able to have that confidence to cast their vote and let them know that their vote will count. So when there are going to be election violence, it's going to be as a result of poor management and unprofessional conduct of the security agencies and the election management bodies. So whether you deploy 1 million or so, they don't even have the number of personnel to deploy to man the various polling points. So what we should concentrate on is, intelligence-driven operations, to know where the flashpoints are, to make adequate arrangement to arrest, the potential threat that may come from those flashpoint areas. Show of force is not necessary in modern democracy. You do not need to kind of frighten people. It has a counter effect. If you think you bring in a lot of security agencies to man the elections, at the end of the day, it may even be a scaring factor. So what we should do is to define the mandate of the security agencies, know those who are in the outer and inner corridors, and know what they are supposed to do. And let them know that there is consequence for every action of unprofessional conduct. And let the election management body also know that when you say you are set, let it be known and let it be seen that you are truly set. Because when you tell us you are set, and at the last minute, some of these stories come up, or we are not ready, or some logistical this is somewhere, these are the things that will cause electoral violence. For this election, I can tell you, there's not going to be violence. Where violence will come in is when there is professional misconduct of security agencies, or there is a malfeasance on the side of the election management body.
All right, thank you very much. Back in the studio here, Mr. Dixon Osage, you're a security consultant. But we also know that there is a ratio, there's a general ratio of security personnel, we're talking about the police, to citizen in terms of policing. But we're in a special situation here. We are facing a general election. And we understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have about 350 50,000 policemen, but 300,000 are going to be deployed across the country for this election. In terms of numbers, is this adequate? Because one of our reporters, Chris specifically, who is covering Anambra elections, told us that, for instance, there are 4,500 polling units in Anambra State, but there are 4,000 policemen to cover that. Does it give a sense of adequacy?
All right. When we talk about security during the election processes, there's what we call the diagram of electoral security. That is the pre-election processes, during the election, and post-election processes. And that's why INEC has 4 years to prepare. And this period of time, we expected INEC to have carried out a security analysis of the entire polling unit. And we can't deploy a random number of people on polling booths. What they need to do is to carry out security mapping. After carrying out security mapping, identify the hotspots. When you identify the hotspots, then they synergize with the security agencies. Because this is INEC's game. It's not the security agency's game. Let's not just deceive ourselves. INEC is their business. Today is their, tomorrow, being election day, is their business. And Section 29, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act of 2010, as amended, stated very clear in subsection 3 that the sole responsibility of the security agency is dependent on INEC. So INEC, after carrying out their security mapping, identified the hotspots and briefed the security agency that in XYZ locations is possible threats coming from hoodlums or thuggery. Thereafter, they could project high number of security personnel. Looking at the security agency, the Nigerian police itself have the sole responsibility to support the INEC when it comes to security applications. 371,000 thereabout personnel. You and I believe that most of them are not in total operation ground. Some are attached to, and some of them are also in various units. The SSS, the civil defense, and other security agencies, when they match the figure, they will support the election process.
But I've always wondered that, you know, at times like this, at election periods like this, where you have to, you know, get the services, if I may put it that way, of the military, you know, the soldiers out on the streets. I mean, do we really need to, you know, have that aspect of security, you know, really manning our elections?
Okay, the military has
because it's a civil.
Yeah, the military has its own rule of engagement, and professionally, the military are not supposed to be engaged in election process. But same section, subsection 3 of the 2010 Electoral Act, permitted INEC, peradventure, they observe a possible threat that could pose a death to any of its staffs or the election materials. They are supposed to call up the military. And the sole objective of the military is to escort the election materials and its personnel to their area of responsibility thereafter they back out. So the military in this present era are not supposed to be projected in election environment.
Mr. G.T. You're not a security expert, but
certainly.
This back and forth we're having about security, many people, I mean, I've spoken to so many people who believe, at least this conversation I'm talking about is about 24 hours before now, believe that there is less tension, or maybe we should say there was less tension heading towards this year's polls than we had 4 years back.
4 years ago.
But then we heard about 66 people killed in Kaduna State. Where does this leave you as a citizen?
First, anytime one gets the report that some people have been killed in Nigeria, 10, 20, 66, more than that.
Alarming figures.
It just robs one of one's humanity. And we're getting acculturated to this orgy of violence. It doesn't shake us anymore. It's a new normal. And we think that it's so distant, it's far away. So it's Kaduna, it's Maduguri. So this place is far. So what am I doing there anyway? And if I have children that have left the university, it's so permissive now. They can just say they're not going there to serve, that kind of thing. This assails our humanity. And something has to be done about it. So anytime politicians and partisans are therefore talking about security, they've improved on it and all that, I just cough. You improved on security and Nigerians are dying like this? You know, so, and they've been dying before the last 4 years.
Of course, we get the usual statements. I mean, security is not just a business of the security officials. Everyone has to be involved.
Let me say clearly that I don't think that the carnage, the latest carnage in Kaduna, has anything to do with the elections. Kaduna, for some time now, has been the hotbed of crisis, most unfortunately. We've seen that in Zamfara. We've seen that in some of the northern states also. And so you can't really say that it's because of election. But it's worse because we're on the eve of an election. So if you are having that kind of killings, it may then send a message that there could be killings elsewhere. And so the security agencies will need to be on top of their act to ensure that we don't have a spiral or an explosion of this kind of killings and all that. But let me just say generally that for a long time to come, in every election cycle, we'll have to be dealing with this issue of security. How do we secure our elections? How do we secure lives during the election process? The borders? Yes. And the reason is because of the nature of our election. First, we're still using what I call an analog system largely. INEC literally has to be on the road. Ballot boxes are still physical. They are not electronic. So they will have to be escorted by security agencies. You know, polling units will have to be manned or police, etc., etc. So in the chain from the ward to the from the polling unit to the ward to the local government to the state. So you have people physically who have to police the process. And so we can't therefore shy away from the reality that insofar as we continue to use this analog system, you will every 4 years need security agents to, you know, police the process. But the second one is that largely because power, unfortunately in our climate, is used for primitive accumulation. And government in certain quarters is robbery by other means. What do robbers, what do? They use guns, they use knives, they use cudgels and all that. And so if you're going to keep political robbers at bay, you will need force to do that. And when I'm talking about political robbers, I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. When people say they want to serve, you don't kill people because you want to serve them. I mean, the kind of desperation that we see can only point in one direction. That people do not see politics largely as service. Because if they do, they won't want to kill people and they won't want to get killed just to serve. So for these two reasons, therefore, we're going to have this kind of challenges every four years when we're having elections.
All right, they've told us again we have to go on break now. Dr. Sam Amadi, we're still with you. Would like you to hold your horses. I know you'd like to be part of this conversation again. We'll be coming to you right after this break. Join us again.